Is gambling addiction the same thing as a drug addiction? In some ways, yes, and in some ways, no. For the most part, though, I would say yes. They're very similar because they both activate the reward pathways in our brains. This is a dopamine mediated response in the reward or pleasure center of our brains that lights up, that's seen on PET scans. And this is a very similar process across the board. So it involves the same part of the brain, yet at the same time, there really is no physical withdrawal syndrome associated with gambling addiction. Whereas with drug addiction, with most cases, there will be a physical withdrawal syndrome where a person feels very unwell, agitated, uncomfortable because of this imbalance of neurotransmitters in the brain that is a temporary thing. There still is the psychological withdrawal that does exist with both drug addiction and with gambling addiction, and a complete cessation of it. And saying that it's a psychological component doesn't mean that it's just a false thing. This is a very real thing. It's very tough for people who are addicted to anything to suddenly stop it. Their thoughts are pervaded with thoughts of using or going back to gambling. It's very, very common. This is a crutch that they've learned to depend on, and it takes time to undo this behavior. The good news is that this can take place over time and with some hard work. Learning the techniques necessary, the tools necessary of coping with stressors, of avoiding stressful situations, avoiding sticky situations or slippery situations where a person can have a slip, a relapse. So in the case of gambling, avoiding being online, for example, for online gamers, and avoiding casinos for ones who are going through casinos. So there are many ways to avoid the problem. There are many ways to treat it that are very similar, but in the end, gambling addiction is very similar to drug addiction. However, there is a lack of a physical withdrawal syndrome associated with that's present with drug addiction, but it is not there with the gambling addiction. I'm sure there's lots of debate over this subject, and if you want to add to the discussion, then please feel free to leave a comment in the comment box below.
If you or a loved one are looking for help with substance abuse, call our 24/7 helpline at 1-800-615-1067. A caring addiction advisor is awaiting your call. you.